What's up, everybody? Brent here from Insightful. Today, I'm going to talk about some advanced Google Ads strategies and how we are able to generate results like this for our Google Ads clients, where we've generated 22,000 leads. We have generated almost $4.3 million in revenue so far this year. We have spent $800,000 on Google Ads, approximately a 5x return on ad spend. And this is just for one of the accounts that we manage. So I want to talk about why Google Ads works for some people and why it doesn't work for other people, and basic things and concepts and theory that you need to understand to be able to successfully run Google Ads, because this is not a fluke. This is a fine-tuned machine that we have built out to be able to generate Google Ad results like this. So I'm going to kind of explain to you how we do it, how we set up our Google Ads and our tracking and other very important pieces in the back end that help you actually get amazing results like this from your Google Ads. So the first thing that I want to start with is there is a huge bucket of people on the internet that say Google Ads just don't work for them. And that is not true. If Google Ads didn't work, Google and Alphabet would not be a $4 trillion company, okay? $300 billion is the revenue that Google Ads generated for Alphabet in the year 2025. If Google Ads didn't work, that would not be the case. Google Ads wouldn't have existed for 26 years if Google Ads didn't work. And this $300 billion in revenue for Alphabet or Google is a huge majority of its overall revenue. They have other things, like Cloud, Gemini, Google Workspace, all of these things that people pay for. Google Ads makes up the majority of the revenue that Alphabet actually generates in total. So Google Ads does work. You just need to be able to do it properly so that it works for you. And something else that I want to cover is I'm not going to be sitting here telling you guys, hey, you're going to go get 100 or 1,000x return on ad spend. You might be wondering, when I showed you this, right, we've generated $4.3 million off $809,000 in ad spend. That's like over a 5x return on ad spend, which is good, but it's not 100x, it's not 1,000x. And the why behind that is because huge ROAS results that you see in screenshots and stuff, or that you might be chasing, those only exist in a vacuum off a very small sample size of data, okay? Go and look up the law of diminishing returns, how it applies to paid advertising, to learn more about why when you spend more money on Google Ads or advertising in general, your return typically diminishes. And I want to just look at these two examples, right? Say you spent $1,000 on ads, you generated $100,000 in revenue. That's a 100x ROAS. You're like, oh my God, I'm the best advertiser ever. You have $99,000 in profit from that job. That's a fluke. Let's look at this other example. You spent $100,000 on ads. You spent 100 times more on ads. You generated $500,000 in revenue. That's a 5x return on ad spend, but you have $400,000 left in the bank. So I want you guys to be thinking about your bottom line rather than chasing a big ROAS number, because like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, if you run your Google Ads like this, you're going to get a 10, 100,000x return on ad spend. That's not the case. We normally see 4 to 5 to 6, maybe a bit higher return on ad spends. Google themselves has said the global average return on ad spend for everybody advertising on Google is 3.5. So you put $1 in, you can expect $3.5 back. That is the global average return on ad spend for Google Ads. Not $10, not $1,000. You put $1 in, you get $3.5 back. So that is a very clear expectation that I want to set with everybody. If you're chasing these huge ROAS numbers, Google Ads probably isn't going to be for you, and you are going to be disappointed when it doesn't happen. But it can happen, but most of the time it's a fluke. Go look up the law of diminishing returns after you watch this video and see how that applies to paid advertising. Another very important thing, and probably one of the biggest reasons why people say Google Ads don't work for them, is because they don't have good back-end systems. And this isn't me as an advertiser just throwing all the blame on sales teams and salespeople saying, oh, we got you the leads, go close them. But pragmatically speaking, that is the difference that we have seen over the years with companies and clients that get good results from Google Ads have really good back-end systems. They're really good businesses. The people that don't get good results from Google Ads and say that it doesn't work are the people that don't respond to their leads and they treat Google Leads like referrals where they can take days to follow up and the person's already pre-sold on you. So Google Ads amplify good businesses and they expose broken businesses. So if you're like in a cash flow crunch, you don't really have a good back-end sales system, you like looking at lead notifications is like a pastime that you look at on the weekends. Oh, I got this lead, I'll follow up on Monday, but the lead came in 4 days ago. Like Google Ads aren't really going to work well for you, and you're going to blame the platform when in reality, that's a broken backend. So that's a very important gut check to have with yourself is, do you have a good business? Do you have, one, something that people want to buy and you provide genuine value? And two, are you dialed in enough on the back end to make Google Ads actually work for you? The job of Google Ads is to get somebody to raise their hand and say, hey, let's have a chat. I am moving soon. I would like to landscape my backyard. Let's chat. I would like a quote. I just want to see what this would look like for me. The job of sales is to close those people and turn them into paying customers, right? There's only so far that a Google ad can go. Let's take these two examples on my screen here. Okay, these are two moving companies, and they're both running Google Ads. They generated 20 of the exact same leads. Bob Smith, Jane Doe, Kevin Smith, whatever. 20 of the same people reached out to both of these companies. Company A over here, the call goes to voicemail. They call them back the next day. They send out a quote a couple days later. They book 1 out of 20 of these leads that they've generated. They say, oh, Google Ads suck. They don't work for me. Company B, they answer every call. They get back to their leads within 2 minutes. They're sending out quotes the same day. They're following up 3 times on the quotes they sent. They close 8 out of 20 of these leads. They're like, this is awesome. Google Ads works really well for me. This is the same leads, guys. The same account. It's generating the same leads. But the two different backend systems are the determining factor of whether or not these two advertisers say Google Ads either works or Google Ads doesn't work for them. So you really need to think about that if you're running Google Ads or if you're thinking about running Google Ads. I'm not saying you need to like build out this crazy backend sales system. You literally just need to answer leads as fast as you can and follow up with them as much as possible. Okay. One last little tangent on this is like Google Ads leads are way different than a referral. They're already pre-sold on you. Referrals are already pre-sold on you. You can take your time following up. Google Ads leads, they're probably contacting a couple of your competitors that they also saw on Google at the same time. The person that they go with is probably the person who calls them the quickest. There is a lot of data on speed to lead and how important it is. So that's something else that you guys should look into. I'm not going to get into all the exact details of the studies and the data that it shows, but the summary of what these studies show is that the people and companies who follow up with their leads the fastest typically win and turn those leads into paying customers. Another thing that you have to consider with your Google Ads is every account, when you start a new account, is starting with basically a blank slate with zero data. And the analogy that I like to use is AI, because Google Ads is heavily driven by machine learning and AI. And if you look at, companies like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic with Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, right? All of these models were nothing until they were fed data to become what they are now. A Google Ads account can be thought of in the same capacity where it is nothing until you feed it data. The first month of Google Ads is messy, and that's normal. Month 3, 4, 5 plus, things begin to stabilize and you establish a baseline because you have data now where the machine learning and the algorithm can work off of to amplify your results over time. So if you're just thinking about, launching Google Ads and just giving it a month, it's not going to work for you. You need to be able to sustain however much you're spending on Google Ads for at least 3 to 4 months. Okay, that's typically when the learning phase has stabilized and you're getting better results. On this as well, we would never recommend anybody spend less than $1,000 a month on Google Ads, okay? The clients we work with are spending more than that. But if you are just going to spend a couple $100 a month on Google Ads, I'll just say it's probably not going to work for you. It's going to take a long time to accumulate this data because the more you spend, the faster you buy data and the faster your results can stabilize, given you set everything else up properly. So moving on to tracking and how important this is and how this plays into how we are able to see this, because I know a lot of you guys running Google Ads, you're like, okay, I got these conversions, but like, what happened on the back end? Being able to see this is a huge piece of the puzzle. So there's basically 3 stages of tracking that you can have. 1 is no tracking, which is pretty bad. 2 is basic tracking, which is arguably worse than no tracking. And 3 is offline conversion tracking, which is when you are sending revenue values back to Google to go get more paying customers. Google Ads works off of what you tell it. If you say, hey, Google Ads, my conversion action is somebody fills out a form, they land on a thank you page, go get more form fillers. Google's going to find the cheapest possible junk it can find to fill out that form and land on your thank you page. By graduating to stage 3, offline conversion tracking, which I'm going to talk more in depth about in a minute, you are basically being a 1% advertiser on Google, where you're sending deep funnel events back to Google Ads to actually get more revenue and more paying customers. So the tracking setup that we use is called What Converts, and it is what allows you to easily be able to have a view like this of what's going on with your Google Ads. You can build it manually with Google Sheets and Zapier and passing Google Click IDs through all these different automations to help build this out. But a call or a marketing attribution platform like What Converts allows you to just do it very easily by installing 1 snippet of code on your website. So we use What Converts for all of our tracking. And if you are interested on how to actually get all of that set up, I do have a Google Ads training course. It's free, where it walks you through basically everything I'm talking about right now, but just really in depth, like actually how to do all of this stuff. What I'm talking about right now is essentially just the theory of it all and all of the tracking. But if you are interested, this course is free. There's a link in the description of this video, and I'll show you how to actually do all of this stuff. But tracking is like arguably tied with how important sales is on the back end. So tracking and sales are like the 2 pieces that make up a super strong foundation of a Google ad account. Okay. Another symptom that we see with poor Google Ads performance is using the wrong keyword match type. A lot of Google Ads videos talk about this. We always start a new account with phrase match, and we basically go from there. Do not start an account on broad match. We rarely start an account on exact match because we just don't get enough data. Google reps will call you and tell you to turn on broad match. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. Phrase match is kind of the sweet spot in the middle where we always start. So if you're just running on broad match, it's not working, that's probably why you need to review your search terms, and you need to make sure, ideally, that you're using phrase match at a minimum. So before you launch any campaigns, or if you have campaigns going, what you need to do right now is you need to go into your Google Ad account, into your exclusion lists under shared library, and you need to make an exclusion list that is blocking with negative keywords, jobs, hiring, careers, training, how-to, tutorials, free, cheap, DIY, download, things like that. You need to build a negative keyword list that has all of these keywords in there that's going to hopefully block your ads from showing up for these keywords. 2 other exclusion lists that you need to create are a brand exclusion list and a competitor exclusion list. Again, guys, this is all covered in my full Google Ads training, but you need to build out exclusion lists before you really launch anything, just to help lay a solid foundation. So this next piece is about how the Google Ads auction actually works, and how being intentful and being contextual with your Google Ads can help amplify your results, even if you don't have the biggest budget. So Google Ads auction works in a sense where the highest bidder doesn't always win. And that might be confusing to some of you guys. They're like, well, it's an auction. Auctions work by whoever says, hey, I'm willing to spend the most is going to win. That is not the case. It works off of your ad rank, which is your bid times your quality score times the context of the ad. So in the case of Google Ads, Google is an incredible company, and advertisers fund the company, but users using Google are what keep the advertisers there. And this is all going to make sense in a sec. But if users are having a bad experience on Google Ads, they're going to are having a bad experience on Google search, they're going to stop using Google, and advertisers are going to pull away spend from Google. So Google rewards advertisers that give users a really good experience in the search results. And how you do this is you have a really good ad quality score. And the way you get a good ad quality score is your ad is highly relevant and contextual to what somebody has searched. And then your landing page also aligns with what the user originally searched and clicked on. So let's just do a little example. You are a moving company and you're advertising long distance moving from California to Texas. Somebody searches long distance moving company, California to Texas. They see an ad that says long distance moving California to Texas. They click a landing page that also talks about long distance moving from California to Texas. That advertiser is going to have a way higher quality score and is likely going to win in the auction against an advertiser who may be bidding on that same keyword, but maybe their headlines are more generic. Moving company. The landing page is just moving company, get a quote. The better experience that somebody has through a Google ad, Google scores you on that. Because like I said a minute or two ago, Google wants its users to have a good experience. If advertisers were just like, hey, I'm willing to bid the most, and their ad was just like not contextual, it was not relevant, those users would have a bad experience and they would be like, what the heck is going on with Google? Why am I seeing this random stuff? And they're gonna not like Google as much. So Google rewards the advertisers that give Google users a good experience on the Google search platform. And that is how you can win in an auction, by having a good quality score and maybe a lower bid than some of your competitors, because people and brands and companies that spend a lot of money on Google Ads, sometimes they get a bit lazy and they don't care about quality score as much because they have a bigger bid. But if you're sitting here wondering, well, how am I going to be successful at Google Ads when my competitor has 1,000 times more money to spend? You can win by having a really good quality score. And this is how you actually do that. So the number one mistake that we see when we're auditing accounts is like, there's one campaign and there's one ad group and there's like 100 different keywords in this one ad group and it's one ad basically. That is the wrong way to do it, and that's how you're going to have a low quality score. To get a high quality score, you have a campaign, say you're a moving company, and inside of that campaign, you have your different services, right? So you have your local moving ad group inside of your campaign. Then you have your packing and storage ad group. Then you have your apartment moving ad group. Then you have your senior moving ad group. So whatever services you have need to be segmented out into different ad groups. And then inside of those ad groups, you have your keywords that match that service. And then to go a step further, you can have a landing page that also matches that service. Sometimes I will say it's okay to use a similar landing page, but as long as your keywords are relevant to what the person is actually searching and your ad quality score is high, like the landing page does matter, of course, and it is a lever that you can pull to get a higher quality score. But if you don't have the resources or the budget to set up all of these very specific landing pages for all your different services, that's okay. But our clients who get the best results, they have a specific landing page built for each one of their services. And that is how we get a really good ad quality score that helps us get a good ad rank and win an auction against some of our competitors that might be bigger than us. So the proper build in order for Google Ads is to set up all of your tracking, okay? Set up what converts. Don't just track leads on a thank you page. Do real good tracking. And then what you do is you have to start on maximize clicks, especially if you have a brand new ad account. Google doesn't know what a conversion looks like for you. So you have to start at the top, get clicks that are then going to convert, and then later you can change your conversion goal. to maximize clicks. There are some other critical settings in your search campaigns that you've probably seen other people talk about. Don't use search partners or display network, okay? Make sure those boxes are unchecked. Make sure you use presence only in your location targeting, not presence or interest. Keywords, phrase match, one ad group per service, and then final URL in your ad is your actual landing page. And one little hack that I want to show you guys is in your landing page, right? The whole purpose of having a landing page is that so people stay on that page because it was relevant to their search. If you're going to give somebody the option to go to a different page of your website, it kind of defeats the purpose. So when you're putting in your site link extensions in your ad, what you can do is you can use anchor links or in-page linking, where this is just an example. You can have your landing page be, website.landing page 1. And then when you're building your site links, instead of putting like services and about actually going to like your services and your about us page, you can use anchor links on your page where when somebody clicks, just goes to a different section on that page. And when you're putting these links in your site links, Google sees those as unique links, so it actually lets you do that. So that's a little hack that we like to do. And we typically always start a new account on Maximize Clicks, like I said. Then once you have 15 to 30 conversions within 30 days, you can switch to Maximize Conversions. And then after that is when you can start doing more advanced target CPA bidding. Deep funnel events. This is like the absolute holy grail of how to be a 1% advertiser on Google Ads. So level 1 is every lead just counts as a conversion, right? This is what I talked about at the beginning with basic tracking. If you're telling Google, hey, a conversion for me is when someone fills out this form and lands on a thank you page, Google's just going to go get more of that. Most advertisers never leave that level of tracking. Level 2 is when you send only quotable leads back to the algorithm as a conversion. So if you're using What Converts, for example, if we mark these leads as quotable, then Google receives a conversion. It stops receiving a conversion on every lead that's generated. Google only gets a conversion registered when a lead has been marked as quotable and when it's a good lead. That is now going to train Google to go get more quotable leads, more leads that are actually good. The next step of this, and the final graduation, if you will, is being an S-tier advertiser, a 1% advertiser on Google, where only sold jobs and booked revenue is going back to Google Ads as a conversion. And instead of being down here at level 1 where you're saying, hey, Google, go get people to fill out my form, and then you're here and you're saying, hey, Google, go get people that I'm going to be able to quote, you are now here in the top 1% of Google advertisers saying, hey, Google, go get me more people that are actually going to turn into paying customers. And this is actually really easy to set up fundamentally. Like, it is literally a couple of clicks to do if you use a tracking attribution platform like What Converts that we use. In our settings in here, we go into our Google Ads integration, and it's literally 2 buttons to click to say, hey, now only send a conversion to Google Ads when I mark this lead as quotable, or hey, now only send a conversion to Google Ads when I've actually added a sales value to this lead. So those are like the fundamental things that you need to be able to, one, understand the theory of how Google Ads works and everything that I talked about, and 2, being able to build it properly and ideally get to a place where you're sending deep funnel conversion events back to Google Ads to actually go get more paying customers rather than just more leads. And you need to keep the loop running, okay? So better data feeds better bidding, which sends the algorithm back good data, and your account gets smarter over time, right? The AI is learning, it has data now, it's getting better. You need to manage your search terms. You need to see what people are actually searching that are triggering your keywords and adding negative keywords constantly around things that you don't want to show up for. You need to check your auction insights, your impression share, top of page rates. If your results dip, you need to ask yourself, was this in the 30 days, within the first 30 days, or right after a major change? This is likely the algorithm still learning. Hold the line. If your results dip or they're not good and your account is showing you have lost impression share due to budget or lost impression share due to rank, you need to fix your quality score, which I talked about, getting more granular and getting more specific with your ads. So this is how we run Google Ads at my agency, and it's how we're able to generate results that look like this, where we can see exactly how much money we made from Google Ads, exactly who every lead is, what campaign they came from, what keyword they came from, so that we can optimize further and beat our competitors. If you guys are interested in learning how to actually set all of this up for yourselves and building everything out, like I said, I do have a full Google Ads training. It's free. It shows you how to actually do everything that I talked about and covers some more of the theory in depth. Not even sure how many videos are in here, but there is a lot. And it will walk you through step by step how to actually set up and run Google Ads the way that I just explained to do it, to eventually, ideally, become a top 1% advertiser on Google. So if you guys want to check that out, the link is in the description of this video. And that's it for now. I will see you guys in the next video.